You're listening to Drinks at the Doll, a podcast way station for Lost Girl fans. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Annie.
And I'm Chris.
And we have a fourth person with us today, Kevin Batchelder. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, ladies.
And why are you here with us today, Kevin? What is our purpose today, Kevin? What is my purpose in life, Kevin? I'm lacking some direction at the moment.
Guide us, Kevin.
Well, definitely my purpose in life for the next 28 days is Dragon Con and Lost Girl. Get us all ready.
Good answer.
Yes, we've got lots of info hopefully to share today. Tips about Dragon Con, since we know there's so many new Lost Girl fans coming because of how epic it's going to be, as well as many other just Lost Girl fans are already planning to come. So we're going to try to get some info out here to hopefully help you out and be available as a resource so you can get the most out of the con.
That is an excellent summation.
And if you have questions, feel free to tweet them at us at Drinks at the Doll.
Yes, absolutely. We'll try to hit the high points, but I'm sure there's many of you who are going to think of things specific that we may not touch on. So that's why we wanted to do it as a an interactive event along with putting out the audio afterwards. So feel free, folks.
So as Kevin mentioned, we have an epic Lost Girl lineup this year. We've got practically the entire cast coming. Not quite everybody, but we've got Anna Silk is coming.
I'm holding in the squee right now.
You are not alone.
Ksenia Solo's going to be there, Chris Holdenreed, Zoe Palmer, Rachel Scarston, and Paul Amos. There was Annie's little squee for Zoe. And that's an incredible lineup of folks. The really only we're missing from our current cast is Rick, and then of course Casey from before. But so many Lost Girl cast are going to be there, and they're doing so much stuff at this Dragon Con. I'm really excited.
Oh, heck yeah. It's going to be pretty epic. It's, Dragon Con does a great job of always getting a lot of guests. That's normally in the ballpark of 400 every year. But to have this many from one show, and obviously it's such an emotional time for all of us this close to the end, it's since they announced Anna a couple of weeks ago, I've had trouble keeping my squee down.
Good way of putting it.
Yeah. That could maybe be mistaken for something a little strange, but you may not want to say that to coworkers.
Yeah.
That's a fandom-only comment.
Yeah.
It is.
That's true.
That's right. We need to keep that just within the family.
So, Kevin, this is like your 10th Dragon Con, am I correct, that you're going to be going to?
Or is it 11th? I thought last time.
I've been going every year since 2005, so I think it's number 11.
Okay.
I was right.
Number 11.
Yeah.
I was practically right. I was going to say, I said like maybe a dozen, and Chris was like, no. But I was right.
I said, I think he's been to 10 is what I said.
So why don't you just sort of start us off with some general information about Dragon Con?
Sure. Let's cover some of the basics for you folks. And yes, we understand that there is a lot to take in. I've heard from many of you on Twitter, which is awesome. Glad to help out. So take a deep breath and realize this, while similar to a lot of other cons, is also very unique in many ways. So kind of keep that in mind. Now, obviously, you'll need to get into the con. The con refers to it as a membership. Many of you will naturally think of the term badge. So if you're looking at the official website, dragoncon.org, and you see them talking about memberships, don't get confused. That's actually your badge for this year. And there are many options. You can buy single day or all 4 days or what have you. So prices and such are listed on the con website. You can buy in advance, be a little less than if you wait to get it at the con, but you have your options that way.
So, Kevin, I have a question that I've gotten from people. Can you buy single memberships for all 4 days or just Saturday and Sunday?
In advance, they put a limited number of those single days out there so you can buy them in advance, but you still, if you buy a single day ticket, have to pick it up that day. Okay. So even if right now you went out and bought, say you're planning to be there just Saturday and Sunday, you could buy those individual day tickets now online, but when you go to the registration area and pick up your ticket on Saturday, that's the only day you can get the Saturday pickup, you'll have to go back on Sunday to pick up the Sunday. So there is a little bit of a downside to doing it that way. That's where it's advantageous to get either the full 4 day, and I also think they offer like 3 day sets, the first 3 days or the last 3 as well, just to save yourself some time in the registration line. And it's not that much more than just buying individual days.
Okay, because I've had fans contact me, I can only go this day, I can't get the whole weekend off work, etc., etc. So I wasn't sure how the single day badge worked.
Wait,
Yeah.
was the question if people could go? Do they have Friday and Monday badges too, or is it just Saturday and Sunday?
In advance, I believe it's just Saturday and Sunday. The other days, if you wanted to do individuals, you have to wait and then buy it that day at the
Okay.
con.
Okay.
Okay.
And again, it's only a limited number of those that they put up. And again, keep in mind, folks, we're all fans. Even though I've been going for 10 years and you ladies for several too, this is, fan tips and info. By all means, use the official resources to get your, tried and true 100% official answers if need be. These are tips and some experience here, but by no means are we saying in absolutes on some of this info.
And some stuff does change over the years too.
Exactly. Yes.
And I think something to mention beforehand in regards to the badges that's practical in how you need to display them. You get just the badge. They save money by not giving you a free lanyard with your badge, so you need to bring your own lanyard if you want to wear it around your neck, which for the 4 days, it really is nice to have a lanyard for that badge.
They do have
Absolutely.
the little clippy things.
Yeah.
So you're not without anything, but
No.
the lanyards are easier.
Yeah, because I'm always worried if I just clip it to myself, it'll get tugged and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So
It is, yeah. And it is just like cash in the sense that if you lose it, it's not, someone else could then use it, and you're not going to get a replacement without buying another one. So be sure to, like you said, Stephanie, if it's a nice lanyard, or be very cautious where it is, because you'll need that not only to get into any of the official events that you're going to attend, but also because of the massive size of the convention. Most of the official hotels, especially once you get to later in the day towards the evenings, they're actually checking badges just to get into the hotel. So you either need to have a con badge or a room key for that hotel to even get in. So it's not something to throw back in your hotel room because you think you're going to go hang out at the bar. You may need it all the time.
And I should say they do sell lanyards at Dragon Con. They sell official Dragon Con lanyards, but the lines for the stores are usually kind of long, and they're, I
Yep.
think $10, $15, something like
I
that.
think they're 5.
5.
No, they're
Okay.
like 5 or 6. I ordered mine online last year before I got it.
Okay. Sorry.
Before I went to the con, and was very happy to have my first official Dragon Con lanyard and to
I knew I
decorate it
would
with pins.
I knew I would regret mentioning a price as soon as I started to say it, but anyway, they're $5. But surely you've been to a convention sometime and you got a free lanyard. We have at least 5 hanging around our house from various times we've been places where they gave them us for free.
Yep.
So it's just cheaper if you bring your own.
Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, too, this convention, for those, again, who are brand new to it, does not take place at a convention center. It takes place at 5 official hotels that are nearby each other in downtown Atlanta. So events will be spread out over a pretty wide area. So keep that in mind. It's not like I need to just get to this one place. While many of the Lost Girl events might currently be scheduled to be at just one specific hotel, keep in mind check-in/registration is normally in the Sheraton. Some of the Lost Girl events might be in the Westin. Some other events we're going to touch on are in the Hilton. So you're going to have a pretty good layout as far as needing to realize there's a bit of a learning curve to the layout of the convention, too.
Yeah. and
Cindy says,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead, Annie.
And autographs and photo ops are generally in the Marriott.
Mm-hmm.
So
And Cindy says, should we wear badges from all the years we've been there to show off? Kevin's would be really heavy.
My neck
Kevin
would be
would have
really
a
sore.
problem.
But I think you've kept yours, haven't you, Kevin?
Yes, I have. I think my Facebook page image is a set of all of them. I do keep them together. It's kind of fun. Collect them.
I don't think I've saved mine. I'm not as sentimental.
I have mine, but they're not
Yeah.
Does
like
that not shock me?
They do have a new artist each year that creates them, so they're more than just a basic name and such. They do have some kind of fun imagery on them, too.
Right.
And Sabrina says you can also buy the 4-day badge on Thursday at the con. She says she did that the first time.
Yep, there you go.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So you will be picking up, that'll be the first thing is picking up your badge/membership, and then you'll have access to those locations. The con's nature, again, being as big as it is, I know many of you are coming just for the Lost Girl events, which is cool, no problem there, but keep in mind there's over 35 programming tracks, many different topics. Urban fantasy is the one, for example, that covers the Lost Girl events, but you've also got Star Wars track and podcasting, science. I could go on for quite a while. So there's a very large schedule. And to keep up with what's going on, the con has a free app that's available for iOS, the iPhones, iPads, as well as Android. There's also usually a web-based version as well. And there will be a printed program. It's referred to as the Pocket program. When you pick up your badge, you'll be able to get. So keep in mind, you'll want to use those resources because they'll have maps of the hotels, the different floors, details on each track, the events, the times, and so forth. So that's going to be very valuable to have, especially if you're going to do a lot of other things beyond just going to the Lost Girl events.
I actually found the app incredibly handy. Last year was my first year at Dragon Con, and I found I used the app instead of the Pocket program because I could just pull it out right there and it had updates more quickly, whereas the Pocket program, it's almost out of date as soon as they print it.
Oh, it is definitely out of date as soon as they print it.
Yeah.
That's a running joke.
I don't need this paper thing. So.
Yeah, for many years before the app, we used to joke for those who went, they'd put the Pocket program up as a PDF file on the con website around a week or two ahead of con, and a lot of us would love to get a copy and then start highlighting things we're going to go to and planning. But the con is very dynamic with the nature and the number of guests and all of the tracks. The moment that Pocket program, as you said, Annie, is, quote, printed or locked down, things start to change. The great thing about the app is, as you said, it's like any app. You can get updates every day. So if something's changed, like a room location, or if something gets canceled or moved, you'll know about it in the app, whereas in the Pocket program, that's already outdated. Now, related to that, they have something called the Daily Dragon, which is a newsletter, single sheet, usually with a very obvious neon color. It's different every day. That's available at all the hotels and in many of the track rooms. That'll list some of those details. But it's a lot easier in the app because it's updated with that kind of detail at the time it happens. Because as we start talking about any of the Lost Girl events a little later here, keep in mind you'll hear anyone that is associated with the con saying, what's the schedule? We will always say the tentative schedule at this moment is such and such. And it not only can change, very often will change.
I think the only thing that we found the Pocket program more reliable for was the maps. Just because you could see the entire thing more quickly. But yeah, everything else, the app was
I thought you were going to say
better.
like toilet paper or something.
No.
In case you run out Kleenex.
It never got that dire, folks.
Okay. We're kidding.
Sometimes they ran out of hand soap, but there was never not any toilet paper in the bathrooms from my experience.
That is true.
I
Yes.
was looking at the website, and it doesn't look like the 2015 app is available yet. Is that correct, Kevin? It looks like it's
Thank
still
you,
the
yep.
2014 app.
Yep, not yet. If you're listening to us and you want to run to your, Google Play Store or iTunes Store or whatever, the app is actually there in both places. It's got a purple color. It'll say Dragon Con, but if you get it right now, it's empty. There isn't anything in it. The schedule, probably the first framework of it, might be out in the next week or so, but again, there'll be a lot of updates between now and con. So go ahead and grab it. I realize there's not much to it, but as Chris also said, too, they'll eventually start filling in the maps, so maybe you want to take a quick look. They're a little hard on your small phone screen, but there will be some details in there and such, and again, the updates will be occurring over the next few weeks as we lead up to con.
And one thing sorry.
I was just going to say, for people who might have an Amazon Fire phone, I did find last year, because I didn't have a smartphone last year, so I actually used it on my Kindle, that they did actually, it isn't listed in the Amazon App Store, but they had it available, the little APK file available for download on their website. So I was very appreciative of that as somebody who was using an Android device that didn't have Google Play on it. So in case that applies to anybody listening, there's probably no one it actually applies to, but I thought I'd share.
No, and that's a good tip, though, because they will make available, too, the app itself, so to speak, is then turned into a web-based app. So there'll actually be a link you can go to on any tablet or phone to bring up the data. They've started to do that the last couple of years, too. So that's very helpful, so you don't have to worry as much about what platform you're on.
Yeah, and I actually found it easier before the con. I used the web version of the app to add stuff to my schedule, and then obviously when I was at the con I used the mobile app, but I find it easier to use if you want to type things, obviously, to use a regular keyboard rather than your little keyboard on your phone. So it was nice that they had a web version of the app as well.
Yeah, and another underused but helpful item in the app is the fact that there's like a friend feature. You can add folks from within the app that you're friends with. Inside there's an option. You press a key and it gives you a code. You share with a friend, and then you can then share your schedule. So as you look through the schedule and you start checking off items you might be attending, if your schedule's shared with someone else you're a friend with, you can start to see where they might be potentially. So it's more than just raw data. You can use it a bit on a social side as well.
Yeah, that was one thing I really appreciated was you have the option to create your own schedule, so you can add in, I want to go to this panel or this fan, hangout or whatever, and you can also add your own items. So I would add in, okay, I need to do a photo op at this point and whatever, and I found that really handy because it helped me plan out my day.
Yeah, that way you don't have to flip through the whole schedule to be like, when was that panel at
That
again?
thing
You
I
can add
wanted
it
to
to
go
you.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
add it to your personal schedule. It's much easier to find.
Yeah, and some folks ask too, with all these programming tracks and all, well, does that mean I need to like sign up for something in advance? And the answer is no. I mean, these, while they are listed with all these different items in there, and we're talking about checking them off on your schedule, I might have 2 or 3 items I'll quote check off or put on my schedule for a certain time slot, and it might just depend on what mood I'm in at that day or what's close to me or whatever. But it's not like you've got to lock this in ahead of time, folks, or anything. Almost everything is simply walk up and get involved.
Kathy also has a question. She wants to know if public transit or car rental would be the best option. We've had really good luck with public transit. I can talk, really, I can.
Yeah, both years so far, Chris and I, we've not stayed in one of the official con hotels, which I'm sure we're going to talk about here in a second. We have stayed somewhere else, and then we've taken, last year we took the train in because the hotels are all located around Peachtree Center Station. So we just took the train in, took the escalators up, and we were at the con. And then the year before we took a bus, we stayed with my cousin who just lived a very short bus ride away from the convention, and that was really nice too. So we've had really good luck with public transit.
Yeah, I found the public transit extremely efficient because I flew into the airport and I took the train. Well, the acronym is the MARTA.
Marta.
MARTA, and took it straight from the terminal to the Peachtree station. And the hard part is lugging my suitcase across the street and going through the hotel, the ramps or the skywalks and getting to my hotel. But anyway, but that's very efficient for traveling to downtown from the airport. So right as you get in, there is the MARTA station there, and it's really easy to figure out. And you just buy like a card and add value to it if you want multiple trips.
Yeah, I think a 4-day pass is like $20 or something, and you're basically going to be paying, I don't know, between $10 and $20 for daily parking downtown. So
It's much cheaper to do
Yeah.
Yeah,
transit.
it is. I know a lot of folks will say to keep the cost down, they will take in, even if they're in an outlying area, they will park at one of the MARTA stations to take
That's
the
what we
train
did.
in because it's either free or cheaper than paying downtown parking. Keep in mind, it is downtown Atlanta, folks, so it's not like there's a convention center with a giant, free lot. If you're parking at one of the hotels or one of the nearby public lots, it can get very pricey if you're taking your car in. So the MARTA is something a lot of folks will use. The only thing to keep in mind with MARTA, the train, is, and I think it's marta.com, or if you search for MARTA in Atlanta, you'll get a nice website with maps and all, it does stop around, I think it's 12:30 or 1 a.m. So if you're the type who wants to party and do some of the events, because Dragon Con events run almost around the clock, that's the one limitation to keep in mind is it doesn't run 24 hours.
Yeah, Marta is MARTA.
So yes, that can be a way to try to do it from a driving or access point of view. And as Stephanie said too, some of the buses too. I mean, the city pretty much knows with 65,000 plus attendees what Dragon Con is. So most of the hotels and anything around the city, if you're asking about transport or ways to get there, don't hesitate to ask. Dragon Con also has a shuttle service to many of the overflow hotels that are nearby. So there are some options. Best to ask ahead and see what works best for you if you're not physically at the downtown location. And due to that nature, too, of the spread out nature of the hotels and the different tracks and all the hotels. I mean, again, the 5 hotels are pretty close, a block or two, but you're in Atlanta, high humidity, late August, early September, like when the con is, and between moving around to all these hotels, you're going to do a ton, and I mean a ton of walking. So you got to stay hydrated. The con usually does a great job of having water bubblers at the back of each of the rooms if you've got a water
You called
bubble.
them bubblers. Hey. great.
I never knew what a bubble was. Okay.
The little water stations, you can, if you've got a nice, like I said, a bottle or a thermos, you can be filling it up without having to buy bottled water, but you're going to be drinking likely a lot of water. Be taking care of yourself that way, folks. You're going to be on your feet a lot, even if you're coming just to the big Lost Girl events to wait in lines. Just keep in mind that, you will have some heat and humidity to deal with. A lot of very excited folks, a lot of people around, so keep that in mind. You've got to set aside some efforts and time a bit there to take care of yourself, because as much as we'd all love to go from sun up till sundown, skip food and so forth, it's not going to work out well.
Yeah, and sometimes you get so excited you do skip food and things like that. It's not a good idea as a long-time convention attendee. So it's good to have your friends to remind you, hey, hydrate. Let's stop for lunch. So, and one thing I do is that I bring, like, it fits in my backpack, but like a little roll-up camping chair. So when I am in longer lines, when I have time to sit down, I do, because I have plantar fasciitis, so it's really hard on my feet. So, things like that. You just find what works for you. And, bring your own thermos or whatnot, and that can be helpful because it helps saves costs with having to always run out and buy water.
Yep,
And they
absolutely.
keep that water cold in the rooms too.
They do a great job.
I was very impressed.
Yeah, they really do, because they realize, over the years, I've seen folks who've become very dehydrated or whatever, so they work very hard to try to have that not be the case. And as Annie said too, the con events, the different panels, fan discussion panels or celebrity Q&As and so forth, the con schedule normally is they're 1 hour time blocks with 30 minutes between. So you can make it between events, but you're going to be going at a crisp pace. So there won't be like a time of day where there's nothing going. So if you need to eat, like we all do, you'll probably have to block that into your time, or skip an event you might like to go to, or make a plan with friends. Certainly plan to have some good snacks. You can certainly bring backpacks. Some folks ask if that's allowed. Again, you're in hotels. It's a very casual atmosphere, so if you're the type who has a small backpack or a carry pack or whatever, great to have that water in there, maybe some snacks, whether you're the vegetable type or whatever it is, but something to keep yourself with, taking care of yourself too, because again, 65,000 people, it's not like you're going to be able to walk up to some food station and get something real quick. There's going to be lines for a lot of these things. There is a food court that's in the Peachtree Center, I think is the name of it. It's one of the connected buildings between the hotels that's almost like a mall that you'd expect. You've got Subways and other well-known restaurants and things like that. But keep in mind, due to the volume of people, the lines will be pretty long, so you have to build that into your plan to make sure that you've got the time to do what you want to do and still get to the events you want to attend.
Yeah, I found the Peachtree food court pretty helpful and built that into my time. But I think most of this, staff and people who worked at those places were pretty prepared, and I didn't find the lines too horrendous generally when I went. But, they're there. But, just the people are pretty friendly. I had a lot of good service. So props to all the people working that weekend.
And also a good thing to keep in mind from the food side of things, there is in the Hyatt Hotel, one of the official hotels there on the second floor, a place called the Con Suite. And what it is, it's just a set of a couple of rooms that they kind of set aside if you need some downtime. Now, the Con is awesome. We're going to have a great time. You're all going to love it. But again, if it's a bit too much and you need to, quote, get away, the Con Suite is a spot to just go and sit down and maybe decompress. They normally have snacks, sometimes small sandwiches, water, regular sodas and things like that for free. So you can, if you're a little short on cash or time or whatever, Con Suite can be your friend. It's open like 23 and a half hours a day. They only close for like a little time to clean up, and sometimes it's just snacks, sometimes it's actual sandwiches, but it's a spot to go to grab something real quick if you need to. So again, don't just plan that into what you're doing.
Yeah, I didn't go there last year, so that's a nice thing to know about, to be reminded about.
I think we didn't make it there last year either, but we went the year before that, and it was really nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. They had kind of sandwich quarters. I think we each got 2 sandwich quarters.
Yeah, I think so.
So like half a sandwich, they did. I'm a vegetarian. They had vegetarian options, though. If you're gluten free, no gluten free options. It was all just regular bread. And then they had, a soda machine. You could fill up your water bottle with soda. They also had water, and it was just all free. Again, you queue up. There's lots of lines at Dragon Con, and you just kind of were
The wait
moved through
wasn't
the
too
con
bad,
swig.
though.
No, it wasn't terrible.
And it's
It
like
really wasn't.
It's kind of an out-of-the-way room, so you kind of have to know where it is or
Yeah.
know who to ask to find what it
Yes.
is. But once
kind
you
of fun
find it,
'cause-
it's not. I mean, it's not like it's hidden away or anything.
No, they're not
It's
trying to
just-
hide it.
They're not trying to hide it, but it is
But
a
I
bit of a
think they
legend
have
of
it-
finding it.
But I
I
think
think
they
we had
have
to
it up
ask
on the
half a dozen
second.
people to find it, but we got there.
But because it was up on the second floor, like it was a very otherwise empty area. So like Chris and I just sort of hung out near the railing and watched the crowd down below for a while. So it was a lot less hectic than the other floors where
It
you
is.
can't find con stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean-
nice.
It is. It's that little bit of respite. And again, as I've said, with 10 plus years there, I absolutely love the environment. But if you're going to be there all 4 days and you're going to do a bunch of events, it can get a little inside your head. So yeah, being able to go up that one floor, up to the second floor, and it's almost like a regular floor on a hotel. So like you said, Chris, you don't feel like you're in the middle of the con, and you can grab that sandwich or whatever and kind of just walk out in the hallway and just decompress, look around, take it in, and give yourself some hydration or that quick sandwich so you're not get your stomach rolling over as you're trying to run around in the heat. Now, the only other quick item to mention before we get into some Lost Curl item details, there are some events designed just for con newbies. As a matter of fact, these are events that I helped to manage. A couple of years ago, after talking up the con so much, I created a Facebook group called Dragon Con Newbies to help out a few friends who had questions, much like we're doing here with this Q&A. And the group has grown up to over 1,700 members at this point, and it's designed to help out folks who are brand new, who have questions and don't want to feel bad about asking the same kind of question someone else has had. So we have a Facebook group, lots of experienced folks and newbie folks there, and the con has been very supportive, even though we're not officially part of the con, whereby now we do walking tours on Thursday afternoon if you want to get an idea of where some of the hotels are and some of the suggestions on moving through them. So if you're into con fairly early Thursday afternoon, beginning at 2:30 p.m., these events will be listed in the official program. We'll do like a 20-minute walking tour. We've got a handful of folks who are going to be leading tours, so you can come. We'll also do some actual Q&A panels, much like this call is, late on Thursday afternoon, I believe 5:30 p.m. to 6:30. And then first thing Friday morning between 10 and 11, we'll have another Q&A where you can just come and ask us experienced folks some questions about the con. But it's a way to help you get the most out of it because we just want to see you get comfortable and be able to enjoy it. It's a lot to take in. I mean, it's an awesome thing, but it is a lot, so we want to try to give some resources. So much like this call, if you go to website dragonconnewbies.org, we've got a link over to the Facebook group. We've also got Facebook event pages for any of those items I mentioned, and then some other resources, audio podcasts, video podcasts. I think there's an excellent 55-minute PBS documentary that was done a few years ago called 4 Days at Dragon Con. Gives you a good insight. So there are some resources. Not that you can't reach out to any of us, but there is plenty of there if you're the type who likes to learn on your own. So feel free to use any of that stuff to help you out.
Do you cover moving through the little habit trails
Yes, we do.
on your walking tour? That was very helpful last year. We hung out more with Kevin last year, and that was a big help. Was learning the little habit trail routes through the hotels.
Yes, if you hear them referred to that, as we mentioned, these hotels and the Peachtree Center there with the food court, they all are interconnected by those what are referred to as habit trails, the indoor walkways. Again, Atlanta, late summer, very hot. It's nice to be able to walk through some things that are more air-conditioned. So you can get to many of the hotels. The Hilton, the Marriott, the Hyatt are all interconnected with walkways. The Sheraton and the Westin are just about a block away, so those will involve some outdoor walking. But knowing that where those habit trails are will help you out greatly. And again, that dragonconnewbies.org site has got a link to an excellent Google map that was created by a fan that's been added to that lists all the official hotels, those walkways, the overflow hotels, MARTA stations, liquor stores, all kinds of food stores. So if you need some layout of the local area, the fans have kind of created their own resources there too.
Yeah, the only thing that was tough was that the what do you call them? Habit trails? I keep thinking squirrels.
Yeah, they're referred to as habit trails.
Yeah. They get really crowded at sometimes. Like, you literally
Yes.
can't move, and you just have to wait until the crowd moves, and it can get very hot. So, again, you have to build in your travel time, and sometimes it flows, and sometimes it just doesn't. But, even for me, by the, mid-weekend and end of the weekend, I was an expert. Could have been because I was with Kevin and he led the way, but I was able to find my way around pretty easily. But even when I wasn't, the app and the maps were extremely helpful. Like, I had to go to either the Hilton or the Hyatt on my own one day, like the first day, because I wanted to see a panel on my own, and found it eventually. And then you just ask people, because there are lines everywhere. And I had to ask, oh, what is this line for? Oh, this is this panel. Okay, that's not the panel I'm looking for. So, and then eventually you'll get into the line and find the end of the line, which can be quite a ways up through and down corridors and stairways. And I ended up like outside in an alley somewhere, and, just plopped down my seat and waited and chatted with people around me. So, but that's how it works sometimes. There's a lot of walking, and don't feel dumb about asking questions about anybody. People are usually pretty helpful and will point out where you need to go.
And
Yes.
since you brought it up, Annie, don't get discouraged by the long lines either.
No.
Because they look longer than they end up being, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Yeah, you'll feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so far back, and we were like a third of the way back in the seats. Like, they're really not as bad as they seem.
Yeah.
Except for that one time where it completely lapped that one for the Warehouse 13 panel. Oh
Yep.
my god, that took us forever to find the
We
end
still
of
would have
that
gotten
line.
in if we'd actually
Yeah.
ended up at the end of the line. I'm like 90% sure we would have ended up in the panel.
Yes, yeah, but it was at that point. It's just like,
No,
let's
I
go to the
know.
Westin.
It was our first year there. We didn't know, but
Yeah,
And the
that's-
Westin, for some reason, just the way it's designed, the Westin you tend to get to wait indoors.
That's what's nice. Yes.
Tip
Yes.
about the
Cooler.
Westin. Yeah.
Yes.
You guys were telling me that, and now, it's very nice.
It is. And again, with a lot of people, some of the big celebrity events, obviously the Lost Girl events and such, are put in very large rooms, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people. So there's going to be a lot of seats, and the line may be long, but once it gets moving, it moves pretty crisp, as we were saying, be it for the food and so forth. These folks have been doing this for a long time. They know how to keep things moving. So, and sometimes it's just a case, especially if it's not one of the Lost Girl events, for those of us who obviously are focused on that. Sometimes that's where you decide, maybe I don't feel like waiting in line. I'll go to a different panel instead. So that's where it's helpful to have the app or some backup plans or things that make a little sense for you. Certainly on certain days, if I get really tired or I'm somewhere, that's what I'll look at. Is, okay, what's closest to where I'm at? That's where I'm going to go.
And Brennan did ask, if there are 65,000 attending, how likely is it that we'll get into the Lost Girl panel? Could we
Very.
be turned away?
I find it highly unlikely.
Like,
Yeah,
it's possible, but
It's possible.
It
I
depends
don't
on
think it's
how
happened yet.
what time you're going to get in that line, really. And that leads in perfectly to talking about some of those Lost Girl cast panels. But just to talk about the lines a bit, because it is one of the most popular questions we see. A couple of tidbits of info to do my best touting the company line, so to speak, or the Dragon Con line. Unlike Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, you can't squat in a room. The rooms are cleared after each event. So you can't say, there's something coming in here at noon, I'm going to sit here for 3 hours to have the best seat possible. Can't do it in the room. They're going to clear it out after each event. The official con policy is that you cannot get in line for an event more than 60 minutes ahead of it.
But that's lies.
Lies!
I'm sharing official con policy with the caveat that your mileage may vary. Again, security handles all this, Dragon Con security, and in my experience, as with all of the rest of the ladies here too, they'll tell you, yeah, maybe, but not really. So you'll probably be able to line up earlier than that. How early? I don't know. You can certainly head over to an area and find out if they see it's a line, ask someone in that area, either in the line or the security folks, is this the line for, Lost Girl Cat Pass panel or Warehouse 13 or whatever it was, and you can find out. Now, again, due to the size of the rooms, odds are very high that you're going to get in if you're getting in that line 60 minutes or more or thereabouts ahead of the item. I think over the 10 years that I've come to con, there's only been twice that I haven't got into a panel, and in both cases it's because I chose to go to something right before it, and it was a 15-minute walk, so I got there like 10 minutes before the panel for some very well-known celebrities. And in that case, I ended up not making it in. But that's twice in 10 years going to a lot of panels. So, again, always adding the your mileage may vary.
And I'm not recommending you do this if this is a panel that you really want to go to, but I remember last year Chris was going to something that I didn't really care about, and so I went. I did
Warehouse
something
13.
by myself. I think it was Warehouse 13. So I did something by myself, and I went to a Whedonverse panel, and like the room was pretty full because they were some pretty popular actors there. But I strolled in 5 minutes before the panel started, and there was still space for me to sit. It was at the very back of the room, like within the last 15 rows, but there was space. So again, if it's a panel you really want to go to, you'll want to get there ahead of time. But I think the odds that you won't be able to get in at all are very small, like Kevin said. He'd only been turned away a couple
Just
times.
based on experience. And most of these rooms, they also do a great job with the acoustics, and they have large video screens. So even if you're not towards the front, you still can have a pretty good look at what's going on. Now, the common sense thing, obviously, that all of us have thought about, and again, I even had a couple questions on Twitter, is like, that very first Lost Girl cast panel on Friday. Obviously the very first one, and also Saturday events, because that is by far the busiest day of con. Those ones are the ones where, the lines might be a little longer. You might want to put a little extra time into planning that because of the nature of it being either the first one or a Saturday one, because that's the one with the most attendees coming in for con. But much like Stephanie just said, I think it was the Lost Girl cast panel on Monday, was it, last year? I was speaking, as I often do on many panels con, right before it. So I had no choice but to show up about 10 minutes before. And much like you, I got in, and I was probably in the last third of the room, but I had no problem having a great time at it as well. So keep that in mind, too, depending on your own schedule.
And the Monday panel is usually much less crowded.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the thing is that, like Kevin said, it's a little fluid when you can get in beforehand. 60 minutes or maybe a little before, and you guys love telling this story where we were waiting downstairs in the lobby of the Westin, and then Kevin texted us from upstairs, "Oh, the line has started."
And
I like
gone.
I flew off my seat like I was on fire because I like to be on time for my panels. I like to sit closer up to front because I like to try and take pictures during panels. So if that's important to you, if you want to just check the line and see if the line has started forming.
Yep.
If you want to do that. So.
Yep, that's
Seriously,
the best way.
I looked down, I looked back up, and Annie was just gone.
You guys have not seen that side of me.
And it's like, I didn't realize Andy ran. Apparently Andy runs.
And I'm sure this year on that Friday at the Westin Hotel, which is tentatively where the Lost Girl cast panels will be, there's going to be a ton of us Lost Girl fans milling about on all levels and floors and figuring out where these things are. So in that sense, folks, trust us. You'll be able to find out pretty quickly what's going on, but it won't be a hard and fast. We'll have to kind of wait until we get there. That is one of the things about Dragon Con. Things are very dynamic. You do have to be very flexible in terms of your mental approach to be able to get the most out of it.
So do we have any more questions before we move into the Lost Girl specific event section, Chris?
Brennan did ask where we're all coming from to Atlanta if we feel like sharing.
California, Bay Area. So I have an incredibly obscenely early flight on Thursday, but it's good because it's a direct flight, and I will actually get in earlier than I did last year, so I'll have time
And you'll
to...
still get there before we do.
Yeah, and I'll have time to get my badge and relax a bit and take a nap in my room, and I'm very lucky that I did end up at one of the host hotels, so...
And then Chris and I are driving from the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas.
And I'll be flying down. I'm just south of Boston. I come in on Wednesday because of the newbie events that I have to oversee on Thursday, so I'll be in plenty early.
Wednesday.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell from Kevin's accents, he's from outside of Boston. Yours isn't that bad, though. Like, I've heard much thicker.
Oh, if you get a drink or two in me, it'll come out.
Good to know.
Goals for Dragon.
That is the plan.
Yeah, the car at Harvard Yard will be there once I start having a couple.
So are we ready to start talking about Lost Girl specific events?
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome.
The cast panels, obviously the ones folks are most interested in. The tentative times have been posted. Again, the DragonCon Urban Fantasy track is the one overseeing the Lost Girl events, both the cast panel and the fan discussion panel. So that's going to be your go-to source. Carol Malcolm, who runs the track, awesome lady, does a great job. She and all of her volunteers. We had her on my the Fae Files podcast a while back talking about this year's events. But if you keep an eye on their Facebook page, if you go on Facebook and do a search on, DragonCon Urban Fantasy, or I believe it's facebook.com/DC Urban Fantasy, that'll be the place where they update things the most. So right now they do have the tentative schedule up there. And again, very much subject to change, folks. So keep in mind to keep checking on that. We are lucky enough and pretty amazing to be having a cast panel every day during con. First one being Friday at 4 p.m. Saturday one is tentatively scheduled at 7 p.m. Sunday at 2:30 p.m., and then Monday at 1 p.m. And no official word yet on will all the cast members be at all the panels. That's more of a fluid situation. I don't know when they might be coming in. I don't think that's been formally announced yet. So keep in mind sometimes the very first panel or the very last one, there might be someone or two that doesn't make it, especially for a large cast like this. So we're not saying all the cast will be at all those panels, so kind of keep that in mind. And as far as where you can find those panels, again, the details will be in the program, but if schedules hold, the Westin Hotel is the one that the Urban Fantasy has a track room there, and where they have several ballrooms. And currently, those cast panels are all planned to be in the Westin, so the Westin will be a place where you Lost Girl fans will be spending a lot of time. It can change as other guests get added and such, so certainly be keeping an eye on that. But for the most part, that's where you're likely to be spending the time. And again, as I think it was Annie said earlier, one of the nice things about the Westin is when they have some of their lines, unlike some of the other hotels, you're usually able to have almost the entire line inside the hotel, so you're at least sitting in air-conditioned comfort.
And there's a nice big lobby in the Westin downstairs, too. So.
Yes.
With lots of seating area as well.
So what we ended up doing last year was that we went from the Marriott, because we had been getting autographs, I think, went through the Peachtree Center, got lunch at the food court, and then went to the Westin and hung out in the lobby and ate, a couple hours before the panel and just chatted and had a good time. So
That was fun.
yeah.
Absolutely. And along with the cast panels, which obviously the big draw, one of the great things about why DragonCon is as popular as it is the fan interaction, what they call fan discussion panels, where it's fans topping on topics. And, hundreds of those over the course of the weekend. But there also will be a Lost Girl fan discussion panel this year. And that'll be on Saturday afternoon, currently scheduled for 2:30 p.m. in the DragonCon Urban Fantasy track room there in the Westin. And those are always a lot of fun, talking about the show between some fans. When Carol moderates those and asks some questions on topics, we get some interaction from the crowd, too. It's a lot of fun. Stephanie and I have been panelists together, and hopefully we'll be again this year, so it's a great time.
Kevin and I, we break out our martial arts skills. We duke it out over topics that we disagree on. I shouldn't oversell it. No, we just talk.
While Chris and I sit in the front row and make faces at them and try to get them to break in the middle of a question, and I'm taking annoying pictures, trying to get their worst face, and then I can post it on Facebook later. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's usually good stuff there. And you, at DragonCon, if you don't already know, folks, DragonCon is known probably as the best place for seeing any costuming in the world, any convention there. It's certainly one of the best and most popular for that. And there are many excellent Lost Girl cosplayers who come to con, certainly over the last few years. So I suspect we'll see many of them not only throughout the con, but certainly at any of the Lost Girl cast panels, and hopefully at the fan panel, too. So if you want to meet some of the folks who do that, maybe get some photos with some of them. We had a great time doing that last year. So hopefully many of those same folks will be there again this year based on some online discussions I've seen.
Yeah, how DragonCon was described to me by my friend, who's a longtime attendee and volunteer. She said, you're in the minority if you're not in costume. When I came into the Marriott, when I checked in that first day, seeing people with these huge cases and these huge, contraptions that they would put on their head and their, fake weaponry and everything, it was just amazing. And I'm like, how do you get that here? like physically, how do you ship it or what do you do? You know, that's a mystery to me with cosplayers, but it's amazing. It's one of the best places to people watch. You could do that for all 4 days and just be blown away.
And then in regards to Lost Girl events, we will also mention that this year we managed, thanks to Kevin, we managed to get on the schedule to do a live Drinks at the Doll podcast recording. We're a little terrified, but I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun, and I hope that people will be able to come. It is currently scheduled, as far as I know, still at 10 a.m. on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, where's the podcasting track at, Kevin? I actually didn't make note of where, like, what hotel it's in. Do you know?
Assuming it's in where it's been in the past, it would be in the Hilton.
Okay, in the Hilton.
Yep.
Sunday at 10. We're going to do something fun. I've been floating some ideas, and Chris has been batting them down.
Hey, nobody's been sharing these ideas with me. I want to say yay or nay, too. But
I'm past me.
I know.
Oh, well, I still want them
won't do
shared
them.
with me. Hello. Equal opportunity batting of ideas. I want to know. But yeah, I'm a little terrified and hope that I can be. I'm like, do I have to be funny on demand or just
Andy,
let
you don't
stuff
have to
fly
worry
over
about
my
just
that.
have to be
You
nice.
just are funny without even trying.
See? But what if I'm
just
funny
comes
with
to you.
trying and it just doesn't happen? So anyway.
But
You'll turn
if
into
nothing
me
goes-
with like the what is that meme called with the dog who's like, huh? You get it? Huh?
But really, the panel should just be like this, except for with people staring at us.
Yes.
That's right.
I know, that's what terrifies
I
me.
know, I'm teasing. I was trying to make a joke.
And I probably
Stop working.
Jokes.
I'll
I
make a
probably will start drinking by 10 a.m. that day. Don't tell my mother.
I'll give you a tip there, Annie, from having done a few live podcasts over the years, and they are a ton of fun. Yeah, there's a little bit of anxiety or excitement because it's before a crowd, but it's all people who are going to be friends anyway. But in the podcasting room, you'll be up on a little bit of the podium, just look over the heads of everybody to the point on the back wall, and then you just podcast. You'll just be yourself. You'll be
Yeah,
fine.
everybody who's making faces at me in the front row because I know them. Gonna be like, touche, Annie.
So basically, Kevin is saying, please come see us, but we're going to ignore you.
Well, we'll have to designate someone to keep an eye for when a hand goes up with a question.
Okay. And a random question about the podcast track. Do they record it so that we can have access to it later?
Yes, normally the
site?
podcasting track actually will professionally record any of the podcasts done there, and they also, fingers crossed, live stream them to the internet.
Oh. I didn't know that bit.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to wait and tell you when we were doing video just to see.
Oh, okay.
Here's
I've
what's
heard
funny.
that.
I think
but,
I am the least
yeah.
nervous about this.
I'm
Makes
actually
no
not.
sense at all.
I'm
I'm-
actually not that nervous, but we'll see.
I might not be awake enough to be nervous because it's going to
Yes,
be
I
a
mean,
late
let's-
night beforehand. And,
Let's face it, yeah, the big Saturday night, some folks will be out late. You're doing it at 10 a.m. Everybody will be laid back and casual. They'll be drinking their coffee there. You'll probably be a
They'll
great
be
time.
hung over. It'll be
Yes.
in
Say lots
crowds,
of bloodshot
please.
eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the thing.
Maybe that'll work to our benefit. I don't know.
That's the thing also about Dragon Con. There's a lot of parties and a lot of...
We are in the hotels. It is known as a
drinking
party
going on.
con, yes. Nerdy
I
bra.
personally don't party much at cons because I'm on such an happy endorphin high, so I don't need to drink, but I might have to before that podcast. So we'll see.
I'll bring you some Zimas.
Okay, thank you.
We'll
Put a
all
lime
have
in
our
a color
fun
breakfast.
flasks.
So I guess the last kind of Lost Girl event type of thing is an unofficial fan event that's trying to be organized. Am I right?
Yes,
Yeah.
we're hoping to get a fan meetup, just kind of a casual get-together for all of us. It won't be on the official schedule. Several folks are starting to float an idea on it, so we don't have any details at this moment, but certainly keep an eye on any of us on social media. We'll get some details, but possibly after the fan panel on Saturday, we're going to try to see, based on all the fans coming, what time's good, because a lot of folks will be doing other things. So it'll just be maybe a casual get-together in one of the hotels or maybe a restaurant that's a short walk away. But stay tuned.
Yeah, there's, I think one fan was floating possibly on Friday for a get-together at a restaurant. So some fans do that, and that's somewhat addicted on Twitter. She's a fan who mentioned to me, she's like, I'm trying to organize a get-together in a restaurant on Friday, so I told her I'd mention it, and then I believe it's maybe the cosplay group might be trying to organize something on Saturday. So these are things we'll tweet about as we have more information, and I'm sure Kevin will also do the same thing. So, but yeah, there's a lot of unofficial gatherings like that sometimes. And the one thing you always mention a lot, Kevin, is that when you're in line for the panels and you're waiting for a few hours, that's when you meet people, as you call it. It's the wine party.
Yep.
And I've met friends that I've made for life in line, basically. So, and you know, I always end up, okay, what's your Twitter name? Oh, you're so-and-so. Okay, what's your real name? Okay, and I have to write down, I literally write down Twitter name, real name, where I met them, because I'm not going to remember it later. What's so-and-so in line wearing this costume? Because you know, and I still have notes on my phone going, oh, like this wonderful woman stopped me on the street. Your drink's at the doll. This was like on Monday, and I'm all, hello? It's very strange being kind of known a little bit in the Lost Girl fandom, but...
Yeah,
You know,
that
Kevin,
happened to
he's
me
no-
last year with I was wearing my Tatiana is Everyone podcast shirt,
Yeah.
and somebody like pointed at my chest and was like, "Oh, are you them?" I was like, "Am I what?"
Yeah.
Are you your boobs?
I didn't do anything.
And
Yes,
Stephanie says, yes, I am.
Oh,
it
yes,
is.
that's me.
This is
yes.
the ultimate fan event. So yes, it's a podcaster. It's kind of neat when you get some listeners and some other folks who come up and say hello. Like I said, it can be a little scary. So if we seem a little, you know, our eyes glaze over, folks, when you come up to say hi, it's only because, you know, we just may not know you yet, but we know you through some other means.
Yeah, we'll know you by the end of the weekend. We'll know you. But Kevin's like a celebrity because everybody knows him because he's been doing the newbie events and.
I'll let you in on a
everything for
little
so long.
secret, though. Kevin may not know everybody who knows him. I'll be like,
We're
"Who is
lucky
that,
he knows
Kevin?"
our
He's like,
names.
I have no idea who that was."
It is hilarious hanging out with Kevin because I don't think there was one time we spent more than like 5 minutes with you where there weren't at least two people who came up and like, "Hey, Kevin."
Well, I've been
Oh,
going
who's
for
that?
10
Who's
years.
this?
You know, I've been there quite a bit, and I do, as you said, the newbie events, and I love it. I'm paying it forward from those first couple of years I went when I was clueless and had no idea where I was going, and obviously it was on my face because I had strangers walk up to me and go, "You look like you could use some help." God, yes, please tell me where this is. So we've all been there. I'm just glad I can kind of pay it forward, and that's, you know, the point to doing something like this. It helps folks out, so that's our goal.
Cindy says she's coming to the podcasting session in her PJs.
Okay, that sounds like fun.
I
like
I
fun.
will let you know that I have done 10 a.m. podcasts where people have been in their PJs, so that's
That's
I
okay.
will
Come-
try not to be in my PJs.
Come dressed however you would like. We would prefer it if you wore some clothing. Just because it'll be difficult for you to actually get to the panel if you're not wearing at least some clothing.
Yes, Dragon Con cosplay does have a policy that no costume is not a costume. So at least have your bits covered, and that's good.
what
Yeah,
they
as long
say.
as your bits are covered.
Cover
Like,
the naughty bits, you'll be fine, and certainly after 9, 10 p.m., it can get a little racier out there.
Yeah.
So I guess just to do a little summary of the Lost Girl events before we move on, I just wanted to mention again, we've got the cast panels on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, all 4 days. We've got the Lost Girl fan panel on Saturday at 2:30. We've got the Drinks of the Doll live podcast Sunday at 10 a.m. And we're trying to figure out a fan meetup, but we don't have anything scheduled yet. And I will say again, those times may be subject to change, but those
Yes.
are the times as they are currently listed.
By all means, check your app or program.
Check it often.
That's right. But we assume, too, the other big items to cover before we finish up today, certainly the popular things are going to be autographs and some photo ops and such. Because many people, that's the question. What times can I come to get the autographs or photo ops? How much will they cost and so forth? So we want to give you some basic information. Keep in mind, we're fans. None of this is official or hard and fast. Going a little bit on some of our experience. Doesn't mean some of this might not change, but the autographs, and Annie mentioned a little earlier, it's an area called the Walk of Fame. That's the name, give it to them, that they have. It's normally been in one of the lower level, I think, in the Marriott. And that's where most of the celebrities will be. It's a giant room. It's kind of neat just to walk through it. You will see a lot of very familiar faces, but in there will be lines for some of the different folks you want to get an autograph from. The Walk of Fame is normally open approximately 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Doesn't mean every celebrity is there for the entire time. They, as we mentioned, might be doing one of those fan panels. They might be on a dinner break. They might be doing photo ops. They might just be taking a break. So I can't tell you in terms of exactly which cast members will be there at which time. Part of the con ritual is normally going down there at some points to get an idea, see if it's listed on the table, or ask someone who's working at the table for that person to get a ballpark, or check with some fans who've been there. So we can't give you hard and fast times, but realize it's a bit of a roll up your sleeves, and also plan to stand in the line there, certainly for some of the Lost Girl folks to be able to get an autograph.
Yeah, and again, I've been lucky because I've stayed at the Marriott, but I generally get ready, and I'm usually ready to go and have eaten and everything by about 9:30. So I go down there. I'm down there at 10 just to walk around the tables and to see when people are signing. So.
Yes, it's wonderful. And again, in this area too, keep in mind when you're in this room, there's no photos allowed. So if you have a camera and you're holding it up, you will have a security person very quickly telling you to put it away. You're not allowed to take photos in there, but you can certainly walk through. It doesn't cost anything to go in. If you're on a very tight budget, it's still a lot of fun to walk past the autograph tables for a lot of people that I recognize from shows, just to see them a little bit up close. And if you want to get in the line, I think Annie and I ended up pretty close together last year for the Ksenia autographs, which was kind of fun. So again, make any line a little bit of a line party if you can go with some of your friends. It makes it pretty neat. It can be a bit of an extensive line, again, depending upon time of day and how popular someone is, so plan that into your schedule. The cost, I'm trying to remember, Annie, and maybe you knew better, how much the autograph was, for example, for Ksenia last year. I want to ballpark and say it was around 30.
30.
I believe for all the Lost Girl cast members, based on this con and previous cons that I've been to, they were all 30. Not to say that they won't change this year. Usually you don't find out the price until you're actually there.
Yes, yeah. It's why we say we can't give you a number yet, but in that ballpark to get an autograph. They normally, each of the celebs will have a couple of photos that's included in that price there on their table. Doesn't mean you can't bring your own. I know you've certainly done that, Annie.
Yeah. And you were saying a tip about photos, don't print them out on inkjet printers because the Sharpies don't work very well on them. I actually had a problem with that with some Chris and Zoe autographs. So now I go and get them professionally printed, and they've worked fine.
And I guess I would say that most likely, because this is the first con that Anna has done outside of Fan Expo, her line's going to be the longest.
Ooh, yeah.
So,
Yeah. Last year Ksenia's was the longest, so hers will probably continue to be on the longer side, but Anna's definitely going to be the longest. So like last year with Ksenia, I was like, oh, she's got a line, I'll come back later, because sometimes that will happen. If you go earlier in the weekend, the lines will be longer and then they'll get a little shorter. Yeah, hers never did. So if you really want a picture with Anna,
a little shorter.
yeah, but if you really want a picture with Anna, I'm going to say Anna's going to be the person this con, go ahead and wait in the line. If you have, unless there's some pressing reason you can't wait for a little while, wait in the line. Just go ahead and do it, because you might not get a chance where the line will be any shorter or significantly shorter.
Now, we don't know for sure that Anna will have pictures at her table, though. So, if you want an autograph, wait in the line.
yeah.
Oh, yes, because in the past we have been able to get pictures at the table with the Lost Girl guests. Not everybody does that. It's kind of a per guest basis.
Yeah, it's also a nominal fee for that, like $20 or so.
Usually
Yeah,
it's been
10 or
10.
20.
I think once I maybe paid 15.
Okay.
But we
At
don't
Dallas,
know for
it
sure.
was 20.
It was.
It was 20
Well,
for
that
both
was two of
them
us.
at Dallas.
But there were two
that,
of us.
That was the price on the table,
Oh, okay.
was $20.
Okay.
So, it's been 10 at Dragon Con.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think one of them was 15 if you weren't like getting an autograph to or something like that. So it depends, is what we're saying. Check every guest individually. It's gonna vary.
Yeah.
Yes,
But we
some
don't
guests
know.
will. Some guests will allow for photos at the table, and some won't.
Yeah. So we don't know
it
for sure
just-
if Anna's going to allow photos at the table. But in the past, Chris has, Zoe has, all the others have. So we have experience that they will probably do that, but we can't say for sure.
And again, that's the quick selfie, as they say there at the table, they normally do a great job of letting you, either their handler or a friend of yours in line can take a quick photo of you with the celebrity. If you've paid for it, that's when it is allowed.
Ksenia took my photo with her.
Yeah, she was awesome last year, and her handler was having a little trouble taking on my phone. I think he took two. She didn't like him, so she grabbed the camera and took it for him.
Well, the
So
thing that I loved about getting the picture with Ksenia was that she walked from her table over to where the lighting was
it
better
was better.
to
Yes.
take the photo. It's like, thank you, Ksenia.
Yeah.
You do think
Yes.
of
Yeah.
us.
Yes, exactly. Oh my
She's got
goodness,
a
she's going to escort me to someplace else. Yes, pinch me. This is
Oh,
real.
Kevin.
this is a situation where you will go to the second location, right?
Kevin's fantasy has become a reality.
Oh,
But
Cindy says that she has been told there'll be, quote, under $50 for this Dragon Con. So
Yes, they're going to be very popular, so I
For
don't
the
doubt the fee
autographs,
might
you
go
mean?
up.
For the
I
autographs, you mean,
assume
Chris?
so. I
Okay.
assume so, yes. The professional photo op prices have already been posted, so generally those are pretty close to what they're going to be at the table, like for autograph prices, so
yeah.
Yeah.
FYI.
And those photos, the professional photo ops, you'll hear the phrase Froggies photos. That's the name of the company that does them. And as Chris was saying, you can take a look online right now. They have the pre-order available to the price to do those photos. You can do them individually. There are group sets. I think last I checked, if you wanted all six, what was it, $200 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
base price was $200 for the entire cast, yeah.
The entire cast members. So those you can pre-purchase online. They'll do them at the show. You can select a certain day if that cast member is available to do it. The exact times of when they'll be available to do those, they normally don't get posted until just a couple days before con. So, but it is a fluid situation. I haven't done those myself, but I've been told by folks who have. Certainly Cindy or Annie, I know, does them. Sometimes it can roll to a different day or a different time depending upon when you're available. So it's something to check out when you're at con.
Well,
Yeah,
I
Annie,
will-
why
oh,
don't
sorry.
you talk about what that is like getting the professional photo ops? Because Chris and I, we haven't done them, or I haven't done them, I should say, but we haven't
I
done them
haven't
at Dragon
either.
Con.
They are in, last year they were in the basement or the very bottom floor of the Marriott. And, there's signage there. You go down the elevators. And for as much as it was the finalized schedule of the photo ops, they were like taped on two tables. So all these fans were crowded around the tables trying to write them all down, all the photo ops. And I just ended up taking a picture of the, two photo ops so I could look at them and see when the photo ops would be. And you can pre-order online at Froggy's Photos. I believe it's froggysphotos.com. I'm not sure. But there's a link to it from the official Dragon Con site where it says Celebrity Photo Ops. If you click on that, you'll be linked to that site where you can buy them beforehand. There is a small fee per each photo, though, if you do buy them beforehand. But you can go into the photo op line and buy them on site, but it's cash only. And so when you get the photo time for your photo op and you get in line, they recommend that you're there 10 to 15 minutes before the photo op actually takes place. And it can be a very dynamic, kind of a bit of a chaotic situation. There's usually one guy there with a loudspeaker saying, okay, this photo op, you go into this line, this photo op, you go into this line. But you really have to listen and pay attention because photo ops go very, very quickly. Usually the celebrity's there before or after a panel, and they're only there for as long as people are there to take photos with them. And you put your stuff down, go in the line, or go into there's like a partitioned off section where you go and take the photo. And you go and take the photo, and then, just go back out and pick up your stuff, and that's it. Photo ops move very, very quickly, and I'm sure for Anna it's going to be really, particularly a bit crazy. So you got to be prepared for that. You can't sit there and have a 5-minute conversation or even a 30-second one. They're going to want you to move on. So but I've brought props in photos. People wear cosplay in photos. So if you just want to say really quick, hey, can we do this, but you got to get it done and move on. But I've had them come out really nicely. What happens is they print your photo, and then you can check later in the day. They've got all the photos spread out on the tables, and you can pick them up. They'll be there the next day through the end of con. So what you can do with photo ops, the base price is just for an 8x10, but you can also have options to add a JPEG or an additional print, but those cost a bit more. So you can have the option to do that. with any of the people you're taking photo ops with. And I think the only difficult thing about photo ops is that for the convenience of the cast, or just so that the schedule flows a bit better, they're usually right before or right after the panel. So on the days they're right before a panel, it can be kind of tricky because if you want to take a professional photo op, you take it, but then you've got to go to the Westin, say in the case of the Lost Girl cast. And then, like we mentioned, you'll probably get into the panel, but you won't have as good of a seat. So for me, because I like to take pictures and try to take pictures during panels, I know that the days I'm taking a photo op before the panel, I'm not going to get as good of a seat. So it's kind of a, catch-22. So you have to look at the schedule and say, well, what day do I want to take a photo op? Or it might be the only day you're there. So, so hopefully, yeah, as Kevin said, they'll be posted beforehand, but really the schedule can change that day, or so you want to go back and check frequently. So that's my experience with photo ops, but I've done a lot of them, and generally they've all turned out pretty well. So I just have to make sure I don't look like a dork in the photo op, which sometimes I do. But
Those are my favorites, though, where you're
I
at the
think you did tell
dorkiest
me
Danny.
earlier.
yeah, so I believe with the photo ops, you can only have 2 adults per photo. If you want a third, it's an additional fee. I don't think they would take 4 or more. They said it depends on the situation, how many people are in the photo and the photographer. So,
But yeah, as he said, the other comment I've heard is that it's not a social setting. As Annie said, it's like a military precision. It's your turn, take the photo, move on to the next person. So if you're looking to chat, you probably want to try to do that at an autograph table. You might have a couple of minutes to do that there.
yeah, I made the mistake last year thinking, oh, I can go in and charge my photos when I buy them on site. I couldn't. And that's the thing about conventions. The autographs are also cash only. A lot of conventions, when you go to the vendor area, a lot of the vendors will, vendors, and by vendors I mean people who are selling their wares and, costumes and trading cards, all that kind of stuff, which is in a different building. Where's that, Kevin?
That's the America's Mart, which is over by the Westin.
Yeah, because, conventions, they'll have vendors, they'll have autographs, they'll have panels, but because this convention is so spread out, if you want to go shopping, go to the America's Mart. And most vendors, probably will take credit cards. It depends on the vendor, but for autographs and for photo ops, which people are interested in, it's cash. So either with the photo ops, if you want to pay the fee, buy it on site beforehand. And I believe the last day to buy it is August 29th. So you can't buy it up until the con.
And on the related note,
I did hear this.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, I think I did hear that some of the people do maybe take cards at the tables, but basically don't assume that anybody is going
Yes.
to. Make sure you have cash, and then be
Yeah.
happily surprised if somebody will take a credit card.
And the thing is about cash, you might think, oh, I can go up to the Marriott right there at the ATM and get it. The ATMs run out of cash really quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there are.
Not to scare you, but there's, yeah.
Yeah, 65,000 geeks looking to spend money on things like, photos and autographs and all these cool vendor items. The money can run fast out of some of those machines. So not that they don't refill them, or there might not be a bank a block away, but when you're in the flow of con, you don't want to have to take a big line out to go stand in the line at the ATM.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I think to maybe mention related to that, because you have 65,000 people all in one spot, phone service can sometimes be a little spotty if you're trying to call or use like wireless data. So just a heads up, text messages are good. And yeah, not many of the hotels have free Wi-Fi that you can jump on. And even if you could, it would probably be pretty slow too.
Yes. They've done a much better adding in some towers and things near the con area, but some of the hotels, the rooms that we're going to be attending events in are towards lower levels, and the service can be very spotty. And it's also very loud in many of the areas. So yes, texting will be your friend much more than calling during con.
Yeah, I was actually surprised I was able to get decent service in most places.
It's much better than it was a couple of years ago. They really have invested some money and some setups, whether it's the hotels or the wireless companies in the area. Because no, years ago it was a joke to think you could even get a text or a phone call through in some spots. But it's gotten much better. But as you said, as you said, Stephanie, it's a volume number. You got 65,000 people all trying to do something and getting excited at the same time to call their friends.
The towers get busy.
Yeah, they get a bit busy.
Yeah.
And one other
And it
thing,
kind of depends on your provider, too. I think Chris usually had better service than I did. So it just kind of can depend.
yeah, I'm with AT&T, and as I said, it's been better, but I won't say it's great in some spots.
I have AT&T also, and yeah, I haven't really had many big problems. It's been pretty good.
One thing I will say is that your phone runs out of charge really fast. So
Yeah.
I bring one of those portable battery things that I plug my phone into.
I
And
have one
I have
this
that
year.
charged. Yeah. So I have that charged. So when I was in a panel last year, my phone was running out, so I just plugged it in and let it charge during the panel while it took photos, and that was a good time to do it.
Yeah, the fact that the signals are a little weaker, even if you think I'm the type that disables a lot of my Twitter and Facebook, so it won't drain the battery as much. The taxing on the towers of getting that signal can make your phone drain much, much quicker too. So, yeah, trying to find an outlet, definitely a challenge. So if you've got some battery-based power chargers, by all means, keep them in your backpack.
Cindy wants
One
to
thing-
know if we know where the photo ops are going to be this year. What hotel?
If it was the same as last year, it would be the Marriott.
Yeah, I haven't
Which is
seen
the
anything
same.
official yet. That's where it has been that I've been aware of the last couple years, but things can change as they take over additional space.
Yeah, which was convenient in the sense that the autographs and the photo ops were in the same hotel. So, if they hold true as last year, we don't know for sure. One thing
Okay.
I will mention about oh sorry, go ahead.
No, finish your thought.
One thing I will mention about photo ops, and this they emphasize: if you are late and if the celebrity leaves, that's it. They're not going to call them back. You have to be on time, which can be tough because at one point I was going to a fan panel and then I was taking photos with the people in that panel. And because the habitat, the connections between the hotels were so jammed, I barely got there in time. Celebrities, they have different routes and can go through the kitchen or whatnot. And so they were there before me. So that was a little tough. But say if you're there multiple days and if you miss a photo op on one day, generally you can use it the next day for the same celebrity, the same type of photo op. Like say if you have it with two celebrities, you can use it for the next day if they're both there. But unfortunately, it's such a dynamic situation. If you snooze, you lose. So Froggy states that there are no refunds for missed photo ops. So you really have to be on top of it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Couple bits of info from Cindy on Twitter. She says they took credit cards last year at Dragon Con at the autograph tables for Lost Girl, which I didn't know because I
didn't know.
I've been to so many cons, I just have my cash
Cash.
ready.
Yeah.
And she also says that she just confirmed that Anna will not be there on Monday.
Yeah, and that was the thing that I was suspecting because when you look at the photo ops list and you do the pull down, okay, this guest is going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Oh, I don't see Monday listed. So, again, my friend who does volunteer work for one of the agencies that books a lot of the people, she said, as far as she knows, they are told those dates by the people who book, the celebrities. So, it's not a hard and fast rule, but again, you should, check and, it's hard to know who's going to be there what day, but I was kind of using Froggy's photos as a basis, but that could always change because schedules change, so.
Right.
But
And another tip.
I was noticing that Anna's photo ops were only for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But every other member of the Lost Girl cast had been listed for all 4 days.
Oh, and Cindy just tweeted us again saying, also, Anna won't be doing table picks. They want everyone to have a chance to talk with her, so, and then in all caps, get a pro Froggy photo op! Exclamation point.
There you go. Dynamic information changing by the minute, folks.
Froggy should just hire Cindy as a
Yeah.
spokesperson.
An ambassador to the
marketing.
people.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
been hounding me about getting Froggy's photo ops. She's like, you won't regret it, Chris. Do it. Do it.
She also put out a good tip, and it's one I've had, but I didn't include. Again, credit for Cindy for mentioning it. Is while several of the hotels are interconnected, keep in mind that if you have a day when you're moving around that there's a quick thunderstorm moving through, again, late summer in Atlanta, not everything is indoors. So, and the Westin Hotel is not physically connected to the other main hotels. So if you do have to do a move between a photo op or an autograph and going over to the Westin for one of these panels, you might be out on the city streets. And if it's raining, you probably don't want to be soaking wet then going into the very coldly air-conditioned hotel. So if you've got a small umbrella to keep in your backpack, it can come in very handy at con if you happen to get caught in one of those storms, or you just want to stay out of the sun. If you end up in a line for one of the other places that's outdoors for a while, you might want to have an umbrella to kind of keep yourself out of that hot summer sun.
Well, it was funny because there was a thunderstorm in between the panel and the photo ops, and we were all going from the Westin back to the Marriott, and you guys all take out your umbrellas, and I'm like, umbrella? What is this umbrella? We don't have this stuff called rain in California. And Stephanie, you're all, Annie, you're so prepared. Where's your umbrella? I'm all, I don't go to cons where it rains. So
we had to
I have
squish
to buy
Annie
my
in between
umbrella.
us and try and shelter her.
It was very sweet, thank you. But as luck would have it, I bought an umbrella already for Dragon Con, and then it was defective. So obviously we only sell defective umbrellas in California because we just don't have rain. So I have to go out and buy another one and hope that the second time is the charm. So
The umbrella companies are like, this one doesn't work so great. Let's send it to California.
Yeah,
They won't really need it.
Yeah, they'll never know it didn't work.
It'll be
Good
years
on you
before they
for
try to
checking
use it.
So umbrella is on my list.
Yeah, umbrellas are good to bring. Snacks are good to bring. Hand sanitizer is good to bring. They can run out of soaps in the bathroom at times. And plus, you're
They've got that. They're like sheets of soap that you can get. It's kind of awesome.
I did not know about that. Yeah, that'd be
I've
good.
got some in my
I'm
backpack.
sure you do. Chris is very concerned about such things. I say bring hand sanitizer. I don't because I know Chris has it, so I just use hers.
Or Annie will have it because she's OCD at a con.
Yeah.
But also, I was like, oh, I got to bring sunscreen if you're out there in that heat. And so I was like, oh, got to put that on my list.
Yeah, that's the unusual thing about Dragon Con is that it's not all in one building. You're moving between different buildings most times. So you have to be prepared for some outdoor situations that could require extra materials such as umbrellas and sunscreen.
Cindy tweeted soggy photo ops and then sent this really cute picture.
She looked good in her
Can you see
soggy
it?
photo
I
ops,
know.
I thought.
They're
I thought
really
you
cute.
looked great, Cindy. And
Yeah.
luckily you were wearing a dark shirt, you know?
Yeah.
But look
It's just
at
all
them.
part of the con experience.
And it makes for a memory, so, and it's fine. But one thing I will say is, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. Hold on.
That's the one thing
It's
she'll
coming.
say.
Yep.
There is no
Something about
caboose to your
photo
train of
ops?
thought.
No, there is no caboose.
But it is large, folks. It is a great, welcoming community. So don't hesitate asking questions, making friends in the lines. Obviously, the Lost Girl lines, you know there's going to be all kinds of other Lost Girl fans there. But even the other events, realize folks are at this con because they're a big fan of something just like you.
Well,
So don't hesitate.
That's the thing. I mean, it's like the best of both worlds, but it's also all these hard choices I have to make. I'm a fan of a lot of different properties. There's going to be a lot of Battlestar Galactica guests there. I'm excited about that. Some guests from like The Hobbit are going to be there. I like that. I like those movies. You know, just Warehouse 13, Defiance. So many different things will be there, and that's just for the guests. That's not about the fan panels. That's not about the sci-fi fantasy authors that will be there, the artists, so many different things. You could get lost in all of it. So that's why I really like looking over the schedule and going, hey, I want to go to this, or check out the extensive guest list or the vendor list. You might go, hey, I want to go see this vendor. And if you're a fan of shopping, I made time on Monday to go shopping, to go to the America's Mart and to go shopping, because I like doing my con merchandise thing, and I found some really creative, really crafty, really cool stuff. And
She did. Like, you found some original Lost Girl art that people made, and
Yeah.
you found some cool stuff.
and then also a tip on Mondays, because some vendors, they don't want to take all their stuff home. They'll have sales. So yeah, Monday's a good time to go shopping. But I literally didn't have time before then because I was going around to panels and such. So it's a very busy, very fun-filled weekend. And I will say this is what's different about Dragon Con than most cons. This was my caboose from earlier, my caboose of thought. Most
Woo, woo, here it is.
I know. Yes, here it comes. I mean, Dragon Con is unique because I've been to a lot of different cons, but Dragon Con was my first time last year, and it's unique not just in the fan panels, but that for the cast panels, normally you only get one per weekend. Like it'll be a 4-day weekend, and you'd have, say, one Lost Girl panel. But we're very fortunate that there's cast panels every day. Like last year, it was a 4-day con, but they had 3 Lost Girl panels. So this year, we were all kind of shocked when we got the tentative schedule. There's going to be a panel every day for the Lost Girl cast. That's awesome. So again, it's tentative, but it's so awesome. So we'll have 4 line parties. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
It is. It's very much when folks ask me, I say it's a lot like think back to when you were a kid on Christmas morning when that sheer excitement of having all those presents to open. The hard part's going to be picking which one you do.
Mm-hmm.
I do also want to add there's going to be a fan panel for Michelle Lovretta's new show, Killjoys, and Stephanie and Kevin and I are going to be on that fan panel. So
Yay!
We shall take it over.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm figuring we
Pretty
do a
much
Dutch
I was
discussion.
gonna say we're just gonna exactly. We're just gonna be like, Dutch is awesome, isn't she? Yeah, she's really, really awesome. I think she's awesome too. This is what the panel's gonna be. Preview.
But Johnny and Lucy too.
I know.
Yes.
I love
I
them
know.
all.
Bree and
I love them
Potter
all.
and Bellish.
But
And I work
Lucy
very-
is just so. I mean, but Dutch is just so distractingly amazing. Anyway,
I'm gonna let
Stephanie-
Stephanie float on her bubble of Dutch love here.
of Dutch love.
Stephanie will do a good job, too, of making sure that I don't go off too far on Kenzie and the Lost Girl fan panel. We keep
No,
each
that's
other on
adorable.
track.
Were there any other questions from Twitter about photo ops or autographs, Chris?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything. If we didn't, go ahead and tweet us right now.
Like now.
Yeah, the only thing I thought to mention that we didn't mention earlier, at least I don't think so, in regards to picking up your badge, they actually are not that bad in my experience. We move through the line pretty quickly. It looks long, but they have a lot of different people handing out badges. Do yourself a favor. If you order beforehand, remember your little blue ticket thingy.
Postcard.
Postcard,
Postcard.
thank you. Yeah, I think you can still pick up your ticket if you forget it, but it's more complicated. But if you have that little postcard, they get you through really, really fast.
Yeah, they I shouldn't say they automated, they computerized the badge/membership situation a couple of years ago. Because if you've talked to someone who had been to con many years ago, you'd say registration, they'd roll their eyes and go, you're going to be there for 2 or 3 hours. And that could be true. But now that it's all very much computerized, last couple of years, I mean, I literally was running through the maze a la, Disney World to get to the front to get my badge. It was just a matter of a couple of minutes. So, yes, it usually moves pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was the
it
same
sounds
for
Kristen
me
and
last year.
I, it
Pretty
took us
fast.
maybe like, wow, all of us talking at once. I think Chris and I, it took us maybe 20 minutes or so to get through the line.
Yeah, it took me like
In
10.
2013, and then last year, we just walked right through the thing, didn't we?
Okay, I think you're right. So, but yeah, remember your postcard. I had to drive back home when I was going to Chris's to get my postcard because I had forgotten my postcard the first year.
That
but-
and your photo ID, folks, to confirm who
yes,
you are.
and your photo ID.
Because if you don't have your postcard, they will verify you with your photo ID. So that's what you need, and a lanyard if you brought one. But
Yeah, I just have a little area where I'm stashing all the things to take to Dragon Con. It's
know.
been there for 6 months.
I have my postcard with my Breeze card for the transit system clipped to it. Yeah, I have a whole little thing.
Smart.
I have mine right here. It has literally been sitting on my desk for a while.
I was looking for my postcard. I think it's down in that pile somewhere, but I'll find it. So, it's down there, I know. But yes, I'm very organized as a con goer. I have my to-do list, my list of budget, who I'm taking pictures with, and autographs, and then my, stuff that I'm bringing. But then people always say to me, especially my close friends, Annie, why do you make a budget? you know you're not going to pay attention to it. I'm like, well, it's a list of stuff I know I'm getting, and then stuff afterwards. So
It's a guide more than a
it's a
budget.
guide. It's a guideline. Yeah.
And he says, I like to prepare myself for a minimum amount of how much I'm going to spend.
Oh, so yes. Hopefully, folks, this gives you some background on some things. A lot more. We still got 3 weeks leading up to con, so by all means, keep an eye on the social media side of things. The Drinks at the Doll Twitter account, or my personal one, or certainly the DragonCon Urban Fantasy page. We'll keep you up on schedule updates and things like that. So, by all means, keep involved, and we'll keep you posted as we get more ideas on the fan meetup or meetups. Maybe we'll have to wait to see. As we said, sometimes those photo ops occur close to the times we might be looking at, so that might be something that changes closer to con. We'll wait and see.
Cindy wants to know the hours and days for picking up badges. I think it starts Wednesday
Thursday.
night? Thursday night?
Yeah, Thursday. Normally on Thursday, it hasn't been posted for 2015 yet, but normally on Thursday they open up late morning, midday, and it normally runs till about 9 o'clock or 10. And then as of Friday, I think it opens as early as 8 or such. It will be posted on the official website, dragoncon.org, for that. But and some folks will line up a little earlier if they're picking up something on a Friday or Saturday morning, so you can get right off into the con. Events start at 10 a.m. The one thing we didn't mention, I will say real quickly, DragonCon is famous for having a parade on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Through the downtown streets of Atlanta. They close off a good part of it. It is world famous. You might have even seen something. CNN and many other big news outlets cover it. It's a pretty awesome thing to see all the geeks in cosplay going through the downtown streets of Atlanta, because a lot of folks from the Atlanta area know it every year and come to do it. So keep that in mind. If Saturday morning you're going to go out and you want to move between hotels outdoors, things will be even crazier than they were at other times of day, because you'll have tens of thousands of people coming into town just to see the parade too.
Yeah, I was bummed that I missed the parade because I was running around doing other things, but because I was in the lobby of the Marriott, I saw people lining up for the parade. That was like their holding station, and it was amazing. And I will say about all the cosplay, please always ask first, but there are so many opportunities to take photos of people. Again, just please always ask them, and most of them will be more than happy to do that. So.
Absolutely, and just respect other folks. Realize it's a lot of approaches and ideas and so forth. So just keep an open mind and always respect those around you, and you will have a time of your life, folks.
Berenin says, never thought I'd be interested in going to a con, but you're very persuasive. We've had a good time.
Yeah.
Kevin has that effect.
Well, for me, it has been pretty amazing, and I've met so many folks that are now lifelong friends along the lines of what Annie was saying earlier by going to DragonCon. It really is so many like-minded people. I love the passion, and it's so much fun. I just want to see other folks, experience it, see if it's for you. But it's a great opportunity if you are a fan of many of those shows. Certainly Lost Girl is the focus here, but many other things that we all enjoy covering and talking about and hanging out with fellow fans. It's pretty unique, and DragonCon is certainly pretty special for that because it is fan-focused. And also, any of these people you see that are leading a DragonCon track or the volunteers, and that is the key word, volunteers. There are over 1,000, I think it's close to 2,000 volunteers. There's almost no employees of DragonCon. This is fan-run, and people donate their time to make this happen. So certainly, thank anyone you might see that's got a volunteer badge on that's doing something at the con, folks. They aren't getting paid for it. They're doing it out of love for what they enjoy doing. If you volunteer officially, you can get a reduced cost badge or a free badge after a couple of years, so there is some benefit to doing it, but it's a big time commitment, and these folks work very hard every year.
So are we ready to wrap up? Any more questions?
Huh?
Cindy does say, take time to talk with people and not obsess with selfies. I've met the most amazing people at DragonCon. Incidentally, we met Cindy at DragonCon.
Yes.
Yeah, but she's not talking about us. She's talking about other people.
I'm sure. I don't take it personally. It's fine.
So if people have any more questions about DragonCon, Kevin, you have a hashtag that you wanted people to use in order to connect with other folks, right?
Yeah, what we've tried to do, a few of us, is use the hashtag LostGirlDC, as in DragonCon. If you're, looking to connect with some other fans who might be going, or some thoughts or whatever, I try to keep an eye on that, and we'll try to be sharing some info related to that. So by all means, that's for Twitter, Facebook. Because again, we have the DragonCon Newbies group that's there for any general con info. Just search for that by name or follow the link if you go to dragonconnewbies.org to get some information too. But by all means, we're out here to try to help folks.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for joining us. And mention again where people can find you online if they need to get in touch with you for various reasons, and also to listen to your podcasts.
Sure. Podcasting-wise, you can find a lot of genre podcasts that I do with my friends Brent and Wendy, and some solo myself over at tuningitoscifitv.com. And if you're on Twitter, you can find me at KBACHELDER.
Well, thank you for joining us and sharing your expertise. We're looking forward to seeing you again. We had a lot of fun hanging out last year.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. Looking forward to seeing all you ladies and many of you listening.
So thank you so much for joining us for this live chat about DragonCon. And like we said, if we have other questions, Kevin mentioned the other venues, which you can try to get those answered. You can always tweet us as well, Drinks at the Doll. And if we don't know the answer, we can ask Kevin. So.
And he will provide handy-dandy links to all the information you need.
We'll find someone who knows.
Doesn't know.
That's right.
Who knows?
Who does know?
I was going to say, if Kevin doesn't know, no one knows.
Yes.
Always learning.
But I'm so glad you could join us for Drinks of the Doll. My name is Stephanie.
And I'm Annie.
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Kevin.
Thanks for listening. Cheers.